Then
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to chat to me about this topic that I think is probably dear to a lot of parents' hearts and probably causes a fair bit of angst for their families. So, really interested to hear your experience and what you decided in your family. So, we're talking about Fortnite, the game that's so popular for so many of our young kids. And I know your son was a fan. So I'd just love to hear a little bit about, your journey with Fortnite, I guess you could call it. So how did he first come to start playing it or being interested in it?
Oh, well, I mean, I think like lots of things it's, through peers.
Yeah.
And I mean, we held off for as long as we kind of could, and initially it was just all the books. He'd just get all the books out of the library and
Okay.
read all that he could and learn, about it. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't done a lot of research, I suppose, at that stage. It was just comments that people might make around
Mm,
the negative energy. And I
right.
think that probably ties mostly to when you're hooked up, through headphones
Yeah.
and can connect with the community, audibly, and speak with them. And I think that there can be a lot of kind of talk that goes on that's not particularly positive. um,
Right.
and it, and can be toxic. So that's yeah, that was one of the hesitations around letting him play. I mean, it's a first person shooting game, and there are lots of them around.
Mm,
Um, some are, I don't know, there's one called shell shockers, for example, where it's little eggs shooting, each other. So it kind of varies in terms of the content and also the graphic nature of it.
yeah.
Some are incredibly graphic, where blood splatters everywhere, and
Yes.
or you can kind of, yeah, some is pretty awful, and you even look up on Common Sense Media at the ratings, and some of them are, like up to 18
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
With Fortnite, it isn't particularly graphic. I've obviously watched it, and there's no blood
Right.
animation.
Yep.
It appears pretty harmless, apart from the fact that you're shooting people.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so I'd spoken with my brother who has friends, adult friends who play it, and
Mm-hmm.
they said that as long as you're not connected to the community and you're
Mm-hmm.
just playing the game without that audio element,
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't really see any harm in it. So I think
Right.
in the end, we said, yeah, okay, you can play as long as you're not linked to the community.
Yep. Yep.
Speaking, because I guess you can make friends. There are parental controls which enable
Right.
you to control who your child accepts a friend request from.
Right. Okay.
And then even at a even smaller level, you can turn friends on and off who you're speaking to. So, there are a lot of controls around it.
Right. So to make that initial decision, I mean, you sought advice from people that had experience, and you felt there were enough kind of things you could limit in it to make it a safe and okay experience for your son.
Initially.
Initially, yes. So then obviously he started playing, like you okayed him to go ahead and start playing without the community element. So what did you start to notice that maybe raised some new concerns for
I
you?
think all of these hooks that these, game designers very cleverly weave into games that are addictive,
Right.
keep the child coming back, keep the child thinking about the game, keep the child anticipating what's next, whether it be a new skin, which is I guess how your character looks, a new skin in the item shop, or
Right.
a new emote, which is the little like dance the character might do when they've done something,
Right.
to the next live event that
Right.
millions of people are going to play, you know, worldwide, that they have to play and they can't miss out on, you know, and also, you know, I think that the item shop renews things. I don't know if it's on a frequent basis. I don't quite understand, but it again, it's that hook. It's like, oh my God, I've got to get to the item shop before 8 p.m. tonight so that I can buy that skin. Otherwise it's going to go and I won't be able to get it again. And
wow. So it's that real urgency factor that they're plugging in.
100%. It's insidious, you know, like it's so cleverly designed, them wanting.
Because they've got psychologists, right, studying kids' minds and how they work and how they operate, you know, obviously to get them playing more.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I think it is really concerning, and you know, I feel for these kids. I feel, you know, I feel for kids and parents around these things, because it's like social media, you know, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Once you're in, you know, they have access to that, to your human drives that they're really preying on. Yeah, makes sense. So Emma, at what point did you really think, okay, something needs to change here? I'm not okay with what's going on.
He had trouble sleeping one night in anticipation of
Wow.
season coming.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, this is, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess kids don't sleep at night in anticipation of Santa coming either.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah.
So it's something he's excited about, but that, and you know, oh mom, I need to go online now because the item shop is shutting at 5 and I need to buy that thing, and
Right.
I'm gonna miss out, and you know, wanting to spend money on V-Bucks. That's
right. Yeah. So it sounds like a real preoccupation started to creep in.
Yeah. You know, and I've always been really, you know, I've always limited device time and placed lots of importance on balance, you know, and interests outside of it and getting outside and moving bodies, and when it just, yeah, like you say, became such a preoccupation and such a priority, you know, but and you know, in contrast to that, I've got so Mahia's 10, but his younger brother Ahi, he plays, but you know, is not, it doesn't have that hold on him that it has
Right.
on.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's not, I mean, this is why I want to talk to you, because it's not a black and white answer, you know, should I let my kid play Fortnite? Because so you're saying he has played and it just hasn't taken him as or really hooked him as it did for Mahia.
Correct. Like once he's played, that's kind of it. He is able to disconnect from it, and it doesn't seem to kind of take up that headspace for him that it does for Mahia.
Yeah. So different personality types, you know, different ways of being, you know, that all of our kids have, really plays into this, and how you make your decisions around it.
Absolutely.
So, and I heard you mention your values, you know, your values were the things that were really at risk here, you know, so it was that balance and that kind of well-being, that healthiness of, you know, doing different things and having different interests that started to become compromised.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what decision did you come to in the end?
It was banned outright until they were 13, and then it's you know, and that was me kind of, well, and their dad, so we're separated, so you know, we share care of the kids, so that was a decision we made between us. You know, and at that point we kind of really had a close look at all the games that the kids were playing, to okay between us what we were happy with, and what we weren't happy with. And what happened was that so many games got picked off the list or crossed off the list that he wanted to play, that he suddenly felt like he couldn't play anything. There was nothing that he wanted to play.
Right.
And, so he and I sat down and, I wanted to hear his concerns and understand what was important to him. And I wanted to make sure that he felt heard and that he kind of was empowered in this process, that it wasn't just someone telling him.
Yeah, totally. Because that usually backfires, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, so, we both kind of, I sat and listened to what his concerns were, and then I listed my concerns. And so we came to a point where we've said we're now at a place where he can play 2 1-hour sessions a week. One of those sessions can be where he's playing with the community, but can only, again, I'm about to say, but only can talk to his friends, but we've had issues with that as well around language that's being used, so I'd kind of say that element, I guess we haven't really fully resolved, to be honest. And then the second hour that he can play is dedicated to building. So that's a different thing, where they're like building and editing, and they're not running around killing people.
Right. Okay. More creative element than just yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So, I think it's a real work in progress. Like I'm not sure that I feel like we're 100% there yet.
Yes. Yeah.
And with a personality like his too, it's even more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's parenting, isn't it? I mean, I don't know that ever there can be a hard and fast decision. I think we do what we do in each moment or each, step of the way. And then, we review it. And that sounds like what you're doing. And I love the idea of really making sure that Mahir got to have a say in it, got to have a say in what because it's affecting him essentially. So that meeting that need of autonomy, meeting that need of being heard, of being seen and understood, I imagine went a long way to gaining some sort of agreement on, and as you say, it's a work in progress, but there's been an agreement along the way that has worked essentially for both of you, even if not perfectly, but.
Yeah. He more so than my other two is the kind of kid that responds to having those dialogues, to, like you say, to feeling seen and heard and feeling like he has a voice and a decision-making process that is about him and his needs and his wants. So
yes, 100%. Yeah. And like, I imagine he is on board with your values as well. Like, he gets that.
Absolutely. I think, Caitlin, we've talked about this before. It's always surprising when you do sit down and you sort of think, they might not be on board, or they might have totally different ideas, but the majority of the time, when we have talked about values and the importance of values, they've listed off everything, and I don't really, there's very little I need to add.
Yeah. So it's having those generous assumptions of our kids, isn't it? That actually, there's a lot at the core of them that sometimes we don't see or don't honor, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
They want to do the right thing,
they do. Yeah, and if they're not, there's always some reason why they're not, so it's that kind of getting curious about how can we make this work for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so it's a work in progress. It's a journey. You may get there some stage, but you may not. Things will morph and change. But what I'd love to hear, Emma, just for other families facing this dilemma, say they're right at the beginning and their child is just at that curiosity stage. Like you said, Mahir started out just looking at books. Obviously, there were messages from his peers. that were playing, what would you say to a parent that is at that stage with their child and they're just like, okay, what do we do?
Good question. I think it's important to ask around. I'm not one for internet research, like it just
rabbit holes.
That's not into it. I'd rather have, genuine real life conversations with people that have, lived it. I mean, of course, online people have lived it too, but I find I can connect better that way, and digest the information, more easily. But yeah, I guess that open dialogue between your kids, like just voicing your concerns and hearing theirs, and working collaboratively, I think people will be surprised,
Yeah, absolutely. And what I hear from you is like just that valuing that relationship first, yes, this is something that's it's come into their life, but if we value and we get really attached to the outcome, over our relationship with our child, it's so easy to go down the route of causing damage to our relationship. And that's your power to parent. That's what gives you, the influence to share these values, to foster these values in your child, which is really what you want long term for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so, treating it, you can always go back, but being open about that, treating it like this is a trial. We will try. And if any behaviors arise, or if anything comes up that suggests that this isn't a good idea, then then we'll need to reassess.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Like nothing has to be set in stone, whichever way you decide.
And Mahia even said that. We were talking about this a couple of nights ago, and he even said that to me. He was like, it doesn't have to stay this way, Mum, let's try it, and if it doesn't work, then we can talk about it again.
Wow. And that came from him.
Yeah.
So there you go. I love it. And all, like, throughout this process, there's been so much learning, for him and for you, and so much, I guess, nourishment of your relationship, like that this opportunity and this experience that, okay, Mum's hearing me, Mum's working with me, not against me. That's just, it's money in the bank of your relationship. So I love that that's maybe been, I don't know if you call it a silver lining, but a runoff effect of this whole process.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, any opportunity to connect like that, and enable your child to feel seen and heard and their opinion valued is gold.
Yeah, 100%. All right, beautiful lady. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I'm sure it will be helpful for many people facing this dilemma.
I hope so.
Lovely to see you. Yeah. Thanks so much.